Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Good Tues News Day. Longtime viewers of the show and new viewers know it's the day where we look at all the good news, at least stuff we find to be good news. Everything's subjective, isn't it? This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up the news 10 to 15 minutes before we start, and we haven't drunk any caffeine. So let's get started on those headlines. Today on Before Coffee, Baltic Sea fishermen will be allowed to continue catching herring in 2025. And
good news in the U.S. as violent crime is down, job growth is up, and wages rise. Also, good economic news is a man buys a $5 cheese-making kit and now he runs his own creamery.
Government launches sentencing review in the UK to tackle prison overcrowding.
And more good news in Good Tues News Day. Plant-derived compound may be game changer for drug-resistant tuberculosis, and changa mushrooms are good for your brain health.
How a plastic cave made in Spain keeps Amazonian culture alive 5,000 miles away.
And it's National Nut Day, so go nuts on October 22nd, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Let's go nuts on today about all the good news that's happening out there, or for me, I guess good news about fishing, because that's our first story here from RND, which stands for Red Atkons Network Deutschland. So it's a German source. I apologize for my terrible German. And we're looking at a story about fishing in the Baltic Sea. This is from Jens Buttner. Many fish stocks in the Baltic Sea are in poor condition. The EU Commission is therefore trying to protect fish populations. However, there is an exception for herring next year. Coming out of Luxembourg, next year, German Baltic Sea fishermen will be allowed to catch herring using small boats and passive fishing gear, such as gill nets. A majority of EU states are in favor of extending such an exception, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture announced. Germany's Fisheries Minister Cem Özdemir, part of the Green Party, had previously advocated that the exception remain in place, while the EU Commission has proposed abolishing them. It is important for me to stress that this exception for the small coastal fishery of Western herring will have no negative impact on the recovery of the stock, said Özdemir. The agreement reached in Luxembourg also stipulates that next year almost 22% less cod in the Western Baltic Sea may end up in nets as a bycatch, for example when fishing for plaice, compared to 2024. The amount of herring that may be caught as bycatch will not change for the time being. The EU Commission has also proposed cuts here. The background to the requirement: many fish stocks in the Baltic Sea are doing poorly, and in some cases, very poorly. Environmentalists have long warned about the consequences of climate change, marine pollution, and overfishing. Fish populations need time to recover and reach a size that can be fished again, says Bund, for example. Overfishing is threatening fish stocks in many parts of the world. Now, a new study shows that even recommended catch levels were set too high. The phenomenon is also evident in all fish in the Western Baltic Sea. Once a year, the EU states decide how many fish can be taken from the Baltic Sea. The basis is a proposal from the EU Commission, which was drawn up in accordance with a scientific recommendation from International Council for the Exploration of the Seas, or the ICES. However, EU states are not bound by this. What is Russia doing about fishing in the Baltic Sea? In addition to ecological and economic problems, there are also political problems, especially in the east. So we were talking about the Western Baltic Sea, but the Eastern Baltic Sea is even more complicated. Since the start of the war of aggression against Ukraine, no official data of catch quantities has been exchanged. The Russian fleet now catches the largest part of the total eastern cod, say Christopher Zimmerman, head of the Thunen Institute for Baltic Sea Fisheries in Rostock. Russia is taking advantage of the fact that EU fishermen are allowed to catch less in order to increase their share of the pie. Damn Russians! Ah! You're gonna kill the cod population! Given Russia's increasing share of certain stocks, overfishing is almost certain, said Zimmerman before the meeting. A drastic reduction in catches of sprat is necessary. What is sprat? Is that a type of fish? Oh, it is a fish. I guess it's just called sprat. I don't know if I've ever eaten a sprat. Maybe it's only in the Baltic Sea. Yeah. Okay, anyways. Learned about a new type of fish today. Then that's positive. That's good news. You learned about sprat. A scientist believes a reduction of around 34% compared to the previous year is necessary, but the ministers ultimately agreed on a 30.6% less. The impact of Russian fleets on German fishermen is probably small, but it poses all the more challenges for the Baltic states. An EU diplomat said that many EU states raised Russia's fishing activities in the Baltic Sea in preparation of the ministerial meeting. A number of member states are calling for sanctions against Russia food products, the diplomat said. We should be not doing anything to Russia. Just let all of their fish spoil, and all of their fishermen get angry, and then maybe there will be a fisherman revolt and a farmer revolt, and then they'll have other problems to deal with than, starting a war in Ukraine. In addition to traditional sanctions, which must be decided unanimously, the EU could also decide on higher tariffs on Russian fishery products. This would require the approval of 55% of EU states, which represents 65% of the EU population. Oldemir was open to higher tariffs. He welcomed the fact that EU heads of state and government had recently spoken out in favor of further restricting Russia's ability to wage war, for example through import tariffs on Russian agricultural projects, said the minister. He stressed that the situation was being monitored and that further measures were being reserved. To improve the situation for animals in the Baltic Sea in the future, the NABU is calling for more marine conservation areas. Valeska Dimol from the Bund stresses the catch quotas have been reduced significantly in recent years, but for many populations this come too late. She also criticizes the fact that fish such as herring and sprat are used in animal feed. However, small schooling fish such as sprat are also needed so that cod can eat them and recover better. So I know this didn't sound like a great news story, but I think it's a positive news story in the idea that the fishermen are still able to fish for now, even with Russia being a complete asshole. Oh, surprise. And they are working hard to try to keep the environment balanced instead of just overfishing and then emptying the Baltic Sea of all their fish. So it's a mostly positive story here about fishing in the EU. On to your story.
Yeah, Jack Sprat could eat no fat. That's out there.
Oh, I had no idea that's what it meant. Yeah, no clue.
Jack Sprat could eat no fat and is piping lean. And so between them both, you see, they lit the platter clean. So there you go. There's your nursery rhyme for today. It isn't about fish, but it's because it brought it to my mind. Economic news. This is kind of ongoing, not economic news that sometimes we gloss over, as the United States economy is the envy of the world, as The Economist has done a week-long essay on it, like a daily. Here's another great thing that's going on in the United States economy. Of course, the United States, the one party is just completely lying about the economy and getting away with it, apparently. We'll see. But not only is the economy good, violent crime is down and wages are up. So this is from Good News Network. The Getty Images is also here. According to news reports from the FBI and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the United States is seeing hugely positive trend lines continue, falling crime and job growth. For the final annual report covering 94% of the country's population, the FBI announced this week that violent crime declined across the country last year, including a dramatic drop in the number of murders, down nearly 12% from 22 to 23, the largest decline in decades. The reported number of rapes also dropped significantly by more than 9%, while Property crime decreased at an estimated 2.4%. Last year, FBI said its report every city agency covering a population of 1 million or more inhabitants contributed to a full 12 months of data to the Bureau's crime reporting program, according to the CNN. For instance, Chicago Police Department reported in January their crime stats for 23, which showed a 12.9 drop in homicides compared to 22. However, not all agencies participated in the survey, including Los Angeles Police Department. The FBI reported also that crime rates continued dropping from January to June in 2024. Of course, it doesn't matter if there's cities that don't participate in it, as long as they didn't participate in the last survey, right? As long as you're using the same consistent data points, instead of going, we added 15 more cities and the crime rate went down. It's like, wait a minute, that's not the same, right? So it doesn't really matter if there was cities that weren't included because the data went down and all the cities they sampled. If Los Angeles crime rate went up, then the stupid cop should probably out there be reporting crime rate to the FBI, but for some reason they're not. So anyway, compare data from agencies that voluntarily submitted at least 3 or more common months of data for January through June 2023 and 2024 indicates reported violent crime decreased by 10.3%, murder decreased by 22%, rape decreased by 17%, robbery decreased by 13%, aggravated assault decreased by 8%, and reported property crime also decreased by 13.1%. When talking to reporters, a senior FBI official defended its uniform crime reporting program, which includes more than 16,000 state, county, city, university, and college and tribal agencies, saying that the Bureau's methodology has been consistent for decades. Like I say, it doesn't matter who you check, it matters that you consistently check the same sources, as your data has to be compared to the previous data. And if you're using different data points, you'll never get the same reading or be able to compare them rationally. Anyway, a blockbuster jobs report on Friday. So we talk about get away from the crime. We're going to talk about job growth. A Block Friday. This is a couple of weeks ago, by the way. U.S. economy created 254,000 new jobs in September, blowing past economists' predictions, while revising upward their estimate of the 2 previous months. Most of the new jobs were created in food and beverage services, healthcare, government, social assistance, and construction. And people have more money in their pocket because of the past 12 months, average hourly earnings in the U.S. have increased by 4%, well above inflation, which is now back to its pre-pandemic levels of around 2%. On one guest on Fox News, well, it's just an oxymoron, the president of MDB Capital summed up the data this way. I thought there would be more red flags in a communist parade in this board. There's not a single one. There's not one data point here that I can point to that is not good. Even Fox News telling you the economy is great. The annual inflation rate over the past 12 months ending in August was 2.5% compared to 3.4% the previous year, according to U.S. Labor and Department data published September 11th. Stock markets surged in the good news. The Dow Jones Industrial Average adding 341 points Friday. And of course, the record high at this time when this news article was published was 42,352. And there's another good news network. If you're invested in the stock market, it was 19,000. 19. And Joe Biden took office. It is now 42,000. Are you kidding me? That is a record stock market, a record bull market. But there's your good news on the economy. And one other story today. This is one person's actual good news. That it's more than just good news. It's hard work and good fortune. This is also from the Good News Network. After getting $4.99 cheese-making kit for Christmas, he now runs his own creamery and wins awards. That's right. A father of 5 who was given $4.99 cheese-making kit as a Christmas present now runs his own artisan creamery in his garage and is winning multiple awards for his tasty creations. Matthew Lloyd's interest in cheddars and Edams was sparked 5 Christmases ago when his sister-in-law gave him a novelty set that included a cloth, thermometer, rennet tablet containing milk-curdling enzymes, and enough for one batch of cheese. So The cheese-making process was so enjoyable that Mr. Lloyd began experimenting with different varieties and flavors. The construction consultant now sells the homemade goods from his backyard creamery called the Rennet Works of Shropshire, England, and is on his way to transforming his England, and is on his way to transforming his hobby into a full-time career. I absolutely love the science of turning milk into cheese products, says the 50-year-old. Some people at middle age buy golf clubs. I bought me massive pots in a microlab. I'm doing the Cockney. I'm faking.
You're trying at least. You're trying. Hey,
British accent.
You know, you can only get good if you practice. That's what they say.
Hey, I can do all kinds of Monty Python voices, no problem. Learning all he could from books and internet. I've got loads of cheesy friends, and I've got sort of goaded into entering the 2023 Cheese and Dairy Awards. There were about 5,500 cheese entered from all over the world, and he threw in a couple of entries and won Best Soft Cheese with Flavorings in Great Britain and Best International Novice Award. Mr. Cheesemakers, as Monty Python, speaking of Monty Python, as Jesus said in Life of Brian, blessed are the cheesemakers. It was amazing. I just thought I had to keep going to see where this hobby took me. He spent 7 months converting his garage into a cheese factory, featuring gleamy stainless steel workstations, second-hand equipment, including 100-quart pots, and a home-built cheese press Matthews built himself. I spent my career giving other businesses help to develop and grow, and for once I was giving myself advice and realized my own dream. After the competition, I thought to myself, let's get this thing to market. The Rennet Works Cheese Company is already supplying a local deli and 2 high-class cheese shops with several creations made in single batches of about 10 kilograms each, which is 22 pounds. I sell a halloumi style cheese. I call it Halluminati. It's completely handmade. There's not a single machine used. It's all hand pressed. The other cheese I make is Templar, after the Templar Knights. It's a Alpine-style German cheese, a washed curd. The cover around the cheese is printed with a Templar cross on top, using smoke. It is a very extensive process. It won bronze at the Internationals and bronze at the British. I'm developing some Christmas soft cheeses for markets in the area. The cheese is flying up the shelves. I can't make enough to supply the demand. It's a very young business, so he can only produce so much, but he's taking it seriously, even learning more by taking sustainability course to help him understand the journey of food he was making. When I look back now, it's amazing that it all started with a novelty Christmas present. So blessed are the cheesemakers. This guy took this garage hobby and it's turned into an international honors-winning cheese. Back to you.
That was full of so many bad cheese puns that you know, you just gotta laugh because it's Good News Tuesday, okay? You know, you can't be angry. Some people get angry when you hear puns,
not enough cheese puns, if you ask me.
Exactly.
I mean, there wasn't anywhere near enough.
So yeah, we could make some more, I guess. Just think of some more for Thursday 13. Best cheese puns.
It's Gouda news. Don't you understand? It's Gouda news.
Gouda news. Okay. Anyways, in some good news, depending how you feel about imprisoning people in prison and punishment and how that works in society, the government in the UK is launching a sentencing review to tackle prison overcrowding in the UK. Well, I already went over that, but hey guys, this is in the UK. Don't freak out unless you live in the UK, then maybe freak out. I don't really care. This is from Helen Corbet on the Independent, sorry. The government is launching a sentencing review that will consider options to hand offenders tougher punishment outside of prison as part of efforts to ease overcrowding. Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood is launching the review today, on the 22nd of October, the same day that around 1,100 inmates are due to be freed as part of the government's policy to free up prison space. The review, chaired by former Justice Secretary David Gauck, aims to explore tougher punishments outside of prison while making sure there is space to incarcerate the most dangerous offenders. We have an opportunity now to reshape the redesign what punishment outside of prison looks like, Miss Mahmood said. I'll get her name. It will consider using technology to place criminals in prison outside prison and forcing offenders to work in a community to give back to society. The government is looking to foreign jurisdictions for ideas about how this could work, such as Texas. Oh great, we're creating modern-day slavery, where authorities have been using good behavior credits. Punishment outside of prison could involve using nudge technology. I like how they call it technology. Sobriety tags or home detention curfews. Nudge watchers or apps could be used to encourage compliance with conditions imposed on offenders. Well, you're gamifying being in prison. I mean, fair enough. Video games have prisons. Why not just gamify it in real life? A senior prison service source said, "We are particularly interested in nudge technology, like a wristwatch that says, 'Have you got in touch with your probation officer? Have you turned up at your mental health treatment appointment?' They're not things that restrict your liberty, but they are very helpful in terms of behavior, compliance, and nudge compliance. Community alternatives and fines instead of prison time will be examined, as well as the impact of short custodial sentences." Honestly, I know I was making fun of it like 2 sentences ago, but I don't think this is actually that terrible, because if anybody studies anything about the judicial system, you realize that a lot of reasons why people commit crimes or find themselves committing crimes is because of societal pressures. So if you just give them a hand, right, and say, hey, you know, you need to go check out your psychologist. Don't forget to go to your psychologist and talk to them, because maybe we can get through these things and you won't continue, I don't know, smuggling drugs so that you can pay for your drugs so that life isn't so hard. Stuff like that. That's just an example. Because reality, a lot of people are committing crimes because they don't have community alternatives, and they're alone and they don't know what to do, and they're in a corner, stuck in a corner, and they just do something and hoping that it will alleviate their problems. Fines, and the review will also consider whether more can be done to tackle prophilic offending and crimes committed against women and girls by drawing sentences that reflect the severity of the act. Ms. Mahmood said, "We want to consider the broader framework when it comes to sentencing, particularly because in order to meet our commitment on halving the levels of violence against women and girls. Obviously, sentencing time in prison has a role to play, but prevention has a big role to play as well. I would fully be expecting them to be looking at sex offenders and sex offenses within the scope of this review." Ms. Mahmood announces plans in July to temporarily reduce how much their sentenced inmates must serve behind bars from 50% to 40%, as the Ministry of Justice said overcrowding has pushed jails to the point of collapse. The first release of around 700 prisoners from jails across England and Wales started on September 10th. That's 1,700 prisoners who are free from jail. The latest tranche, starting on Tuesday, which is today, October 22nd, has expanded eligibility to include those serving sentences of 5 years or more. So I guess everyone else who was in prison was, you know, oh, you're in here for 6 months. You know, it's like, okay, we'll just give you something community-based to do instead of putting you in a jail cell and feeding you for 6 months. Prisons are expected to reach critical capacity again by July. The number of prison spaces fluctuate, but it is understood that there are some 89,000 prison space in total. The government has committed to creating 14,000 additional prison spaces. The finding of the sentencing review will be submitted by spring of next year. The results of the review are expected to take effect by March 2026 at the earliest. Okay, so there's people who are getting their sentences reviewed, and they probably won't see any results from that until 2 years from now, maybe even 3 years from now. That sucks. Mr. Gauck said, "Clearly our prisons are not working. The prison population is increasing about 4,500 a year, and nearly 90% of those sentenced to custody are re-offenders." Yeah, it's almost like crime is a societal problem, and you can't just punish people out of it. Of course, I don't know how it is in the UK, but in US, you're basically punished for the rest of your life if you become a felon, because they don't let you vote, they don't let you, people won't hire you because you're a felon. Your life is ruined for the rest of life just for, you know, what some people might be a mistake. And that's why reoffenders exist. Because, oh, I made a mistake. Everyone's going to treat me like a criminal for the rest of my life. I might as well just dedicate myself to the lifestyle if they're going to treat me like that. This review will explore what punishment and rehabilitation should look like in the 21st century, and how we can move our justice system out of crisis and towards a long-term, sustainable future. Mr. Gauck argued in 2019, when he was Justice Secretary, that there is a very strong case for abolishing jail terms of 6 months or less, with exceptions made for violent and sexual crimes. I mean, yeah, I'm not a freaking expert on this stuff, but maybe there is an idea of just social shame being a deterrent, but the problem is with how our current criminal system works in the West anyways. It's all about shame. It's all about feeling bad, and it's all about kind of ostracizing yourself from society. You should feel bad. Here's a punishment. Go feel bad about your punishment. You're gonna feel terrible. And if you're already feeling bad when you committed the crime, feeling more bad isn't really going to change anything. Prison Reform Trust said Gauck would step down as trustee from the charity while he's chairing the review. The trust said the average prison sentence for serious, indictable offenses is now 62.4 months, almost 2 years longer than in 2010. Mr. Gauck told the BBC that the last 3 decades has seen governments of all colors have been very quick to announce new and longer prison sentences and not so quick to expand prison capacity. It is the case that the prison population is growing faster than we can build prisons, he said. Mr. Gauck added his role would explore whether new technology could play a bigger role in punishment and rehabilitation outside prison. We now have access to electronic tagging that is more sophisticated than was in the past. We can do drink and drug monitoring as well, he said. I think this does raise question as to whether we can do more with people out of prison. There's a proper punishment, the public is protected, but they're better placed to be rehabilitated. Speaking to Sky News, Mr. Gauck also highlighted a need to focus on lowering the rates of recidivism, labeling England among the highest in Europe.
Recidivism.
Yeah. Recidivism? Recidivism.
Recidivism. Yeah.
Now is a good opportunity to look at sentencing policy once again, he has said. Mark Day, Deputy Director of Prison Reform Trust, said, the current capacity crisis has brought our criminal justice system close to collapse. Emergency measures are not long-term solutions. We urgently need to get a grip with runaway sentence inflation and also contribute to chronic levels of overcrowding and driven prison numbers and our use of imprisonment up to an unsustainable level. The Law Society welcomed the review, saying, it is high time for an examination of alternatives to the use of custody, which is an expensive and often counterproductive form of punishment. The cost of punishment outside prison is estimated to be £5,000 annually per person, compared with the more than £50,000 to imprison someone for a year. Yeah, that sounds like a great safe costing measure and also a better societal measure, because I don't believe, I mean, this is crazy for me. I know this is going to be a crazy opinion, but I think when people go to prison, serve their sentences, and come out, that's the end of that. Okay? I understand that it's very hard for a lot of people out there to say, wait, that person committed rape. How can we ever trust them again? Well, I don't know. That's up to your personal perspective, but I don't think society at large, if somebody goes to prison for a crime and then does their prison sentence, it comes out, I don't think they should be criminally charged for the rest of their life for that kind of thing. Is it terrible what they did? Yes. Did they serve their sentence? Yes. What else do you want from them? To not be alive anymore? I just can't agree with that. I don't agree with the death sentence. I don't think people should be killed for reasons. No. Any crime. I'm sorry. Any crime. Even murder itself should not be a death sentence. And I know that's hard, easy for me to say.
Especially if you taught the Bible.
Yeah, it's easy for me to say because I'm not the victim, or I'm not of the victim's family, and I know people want retribution, but the problem is retribution doesn't solve anything. Sorry to say this. Yep. It makes you feel good for like 2 seconds, and then you're like, oh shit, I helped get that person killed. I'm also responsible for the death of that person, and also it doesn't remove the crime they committed, ever. So they've done their penance. Let them do their penance and then leave them alone. And in this case,
it actually costs more to execute a person than it does to keep them in prison for life because of all the appeals, all the court processes.
You have to make sure when you kill somebody, they are guilty. In a lot of cases, that doesn't happen.
And they don't even do that anymore.
Yeah, they cut out the money. They say, "Oh, whatever, just kill them. I don't care anymore. It's too expensive to figure out
silly, crazy liberals think we shouldn't execute innocent people." Yeah. It's ironic that the states that want to enforce the 10 Commandments on everybody and put it in the classrooms are the same states that execute people. And it's right there in the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. It doesn't have like subsections and clauses or anything like there. It says, thou shalt not kill. Nothing else.
The end. Yeah.
Seems pretty simple. All right. So if it's a sin for people to kill, it's a sin for governments to kill, correct? I would think. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay. That's the end of the story, really. I think we covered all our opinions on that. You can go with yours.
Yeah. Going to prison should not be, oh my God, you broke the law, you did your 3 years, now pay the rest of your life. And that's the way
it's terrible. It's not a life sentence. People who deserve life sentences get them, okay? You don't need to do it outside, you know? They've already got the life sentence. If they have one.
You find a lot of religious converts in prison because they've killed all semblance of hope, right?
Yeah.
By just saying, even when you get out, your life isn't worth anything, right? Mm-hmm. So, yep. Just because, I mean, not everybody can write a best-selling novel while they're in prison, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so I guess it's my story. News and medicine. News and food and medicine. We'll get to mushrooms first, since I kind of screwed up the headline on that one. This is from Good News Network, Andy Corbally. The medicinal value of chaga mushrooms as a nutraceutical for good health. I never heard that word before. Well, maybe you have to look it up. In an updated review of the medicinal value of the Siberian native fungus called chaga, the authors underscored the almost unbelievable value of this humble organism for functional medicine. This review, synthesizing old and brand new work on chaga, describes its anti-cancer, antioxidant, anti-diabetic, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and immunomodulating properties as remarkable. As the World at Large reports, that's the name of a news organization, as World at Large, there's a very wide, very blurred line separating food from medicine. Nearly all known diseases are diagnosed alongside nutrient deficiencies from bone cancer to sepsis. While no one suffering from a migraine or eczema is running to the kitchen, clinical deficiencies in certain micronutrients may be the underlying or exacerbating causes of many maladies. As part of eating for health, nutraceuticals, sometimes called functional foods, which define the blurred line mentioned above, are of great interest. Mushrooms are certainly included in the category. Chaga is not a mushroom as we would recognize it, but a white rot fungus that grows on trees rather than up from the soil. It's found in North America, Siberia, and Scandinavia. Has a traditional history of use as a medicine. It is boiled in tea and consumed to treat inflammation and cancer in native cultures across Russia, for example. Chaga possesses a panoply of here's a alliteration. Chaga possesses a panoply of polyphenols. And triterpenes, also known as phytonutrients or specific compounds contained in plants, many have which, or even another sentence where they forgot to add it. Many of which have already been established as a medicinal and antibacterial, anti-cancer, antiviral, hypoglycemic, hepatoprotective, and immunomodulatory. Sorry, it's a big word. These include phytolinic acid, betadine, ergosterol, peroxides, caffeine acid, inonobilin, trimethylenolic acid, luperol, lupiol, lanosterol, inotodiol, and melanin. My lord!
I think he just cast a spell on us. We're about to grow like a
Jesus. Oh,
a third nose or something.
Some words in here that I can pronounce. Anyway, chaga, like mushrooms, contains beta-glucans as a principal source of fiber. Beta-glucans are probably the most beneficial type of fiber humans can consume, but are presently only in mushrooms. A great source of fiber helps modulate the immune responses originating from the gut, preventing colon and stomach cancers, and reinforce the mucus lining of the inside of the GI tract, thereby preventing gut-borne pathogens from seeping into the bloodstream. One day I'll learn how to read. Part of chaga's nutritional arsenal are butylene and butylic acid. These names refer to the birch tree, and the chaga likely gathers these compounds from its parasitical relationship from the hardwood. Butylene has anti-cancer activities used for treatment of wound healing. Derivatives of butylene stimulate collagen synthesis in normal human fibroplasts. Butylene can be easily converted into butylic acid, a compound that has anti-malarial, antifungal, anti-cancer, and anti-inflammatory activity, authors write. Butylene and butylic acid are most effective compounds used against skin inflammation. Butylene, butylic acid, and their derivatives can be used against melanoma, skin cancer, epidermoid carcinoma, and actinic dermatosis. The anti-cancer effects are particularly noteworthy, the authors continue. Furthermore, terpenoids such as inotodiol and ergosterol peroxide in chaga have exhibited anti-cancer properties, including apoptosis, inhibiting cell proliferation and suppressing angiogenesis. Similarly, the compound called 3,4-dihydroxybenzalacetone has been found to have anti-cancer properties. It can regulate the expressions of genes that promote anti-apoptosis and cell proliferation. I'm having trouble with easy words now. Anyway, additionally, chaga produces polyporolynic acids, including inositolic acid, which has shown promising anti-cancer effects by inhibiting cancer cell and inducing cell cycle arrest. Water extract from chaga mushrooms exhibited potential anti-cancer activity against B6 to F10 melanoma cells in vitro and in vivo through the inhibition of proliferation and induction of differentiation and apoptosis of cancer cells. Oh, there's a bunch of words nobody knows. Man, way to go. Chaga is one of the hosts of popular health fungi species, but it is certainly one of the most researched. Chaga is one of a host of popular health promoting fungi species, but is certainly one of the most researched. It is often taken as a supplement because most humans don't live close enough to the Arctic Circle to find chaga in the wild. Picking a supplement should be done with care, and supplement industries filled with hawkers, contaminated products, and scams. Beyond these rudimentary challenges, picking the right chaga supplement would also involve ensuring you're getting a product that is made with the actual mushrooms, or at least mostly mushrooms, rather than the mycelium. Okay, there's an article with a whole bunch of really hard words. Let's try to find one that doesn't have a whole bunch of really hard words. This is also from Good News Network. This is a novel plant-derived compound may be game changer for drug-resistant tuberculosis. Okay, so this is also Nandy Corley, Good News Network. A plant-derived, hopefully not so many long-ass words that I have trouble with because I've never seen them before. A plant-derived compound was used and studied to kill strains of tuberculosis that were resistant to existing therapies. The compound was found in a plant native to North America and was not only able to suppress the dormant TB bacteria surfacing, but also didn't damage the gut microbiome. Tuberculosis is the second leading killer of humans from infectious diseases worldwide. It has been developing resistance to many of the antibiotics previously used to treat it. Caused by a species of bacteria that invades the respiratory system, the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it can also affect the heart, brain, and spinal column. A new study published in the journal Anti-Inflammatory Nutraceutics and Chronic Diseases found that sanguinarine, a derivative of bloodroot, a wildflower found in North America, could combat multi-drug resistant tuberculosis after being genetically modified to reduce its natural toxicity. TB is treated with multiple medications over a 6-month period, exposing the human organism to substantial weakening. By contrast, the sanguinarine selectively targeted the bacteria responsible for MRTB, leaving harmless and beneficial bacteria intact. However, in its natural form, the sanguinarine is toxic to human cells. So Dr. Jim Sun, a senior author and assistant professor at University of British Columbia's Department of Microbiology and Immunology, the team to reduce the toxicity of the phytochemical while increasing its potency as a tuberculosis killer. The result in the creation of the 35 new derivatives, 2 of which BPD9 and BPD6, showed over 90% inhibition of 8 different forms of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, 3 that were particularly virulent, and 5 that were resistant to existing drugs. TB treatment takes 6 months because the bacteria can hibernate in your lungs until reactivated. Most antibiotics work best against actively growing bacteria, but BPD9 seems to be able to stop dormant bacteria from coming back to life, explained Dr. Sun. It took just 8 days to significantly reduce the quantity of TB and other TB strains of mice treated with BPD9, delighting the research team, who nonetheless say that more work needs to be done to lower the compound's toxicity and conducting additional tests on drug-resistant strains of TB-causing bacteria. So there's your good news for today and this week and forever, probably. I don't know.
Something good happened, but we understood 0% of it.
These plants are good. These plants are going to kill tuberculosis, and the mushrooms are wonder drugs. This fungus.
No, that's true. My asthma medicine is mushroom-based or fungi-based.
Wonder supplement. Okay.
Well, good job, scientists, for discovering that miracle plant. Let's go to our next story here, the culture segment. We're going to talk about how scientists have created a plastic cave in Spain to keep an Amazonian culture alive, 5,000 away from the Amazon people. This is from Constance Mallory in Ulupuenue, Brazil, on The Guardian. When ancient carvings were vandalized, the Waja feared their knowledge was lost. But 3D imaging has created a replica at the heart of Brazil's first Xingu People's Museum. I have no idea how that's pronounced, so I'm just gonna guess. It is not yet dawn in Ulupuenue, an indigenous village in the Brazilian Amazon, but the Waja people have already risen to prepare for the festive day ahead. The sound of clarinet-like instruments float across the village. On the banks of the Patovi River, a woman sweeps the earthen floor between the thatched oca or traditional houses. Men paint their bodies with charcoal and bright red achiote seeds as the sun rises over the rainforest. Men, women, and children all meet in the village center to sing and dance. The Waja people are performing ritual dances all day to mark a unique occasion, the inauguration of a life-size replica of a sacred cave called Gamuwaku, which is being housed in the first indigenous museum in the Xingu region. It is an act of resistance as much of a celebration. The Waja people hope this unique resource will help to preserve their cultural heritage and keep their traditions alive for future generations, as well as draw attention to the threat their land faces from climate crisis and local extractive industries. Here is an instrument that will show our people and our struggle, our unity with other Xingu people. The Sasikwe, chief of the Ulupwene, Ilowoka Warura, tells the Waja relatives who have traveled from other villages to take part in the ceremony. The original cave of the Kamukawaka is the home of myths that from the basis of indigenous people's culture and customs in the Upper Xingu, a tract of rainforest surrounded by soya plantations in central Brazil. But the cave lies on private farmland outside the protected indigenous territory and was partly destroyed in September 2018 when ancient engravings on its wall, or petroglyphs, were deliberately hacked off. Those responsible have still not been found. Why? Dude, it's just some paintings on a fucking stone. Colonizers, man. That is where our songs, our rituals, our body paintings come from, says Akira Wara, a singer in Kasgike of the Tepeweke village. All Waja people share the same surname, Wara, a non-indigenous misspelling of their ethnic group. Now 49. That's funny. Imagine everyone's last name being, you know, Tom Whitey. He's like, oh, where are you from? I'm just a white person. You know, I'm just all of the things in Europe. All right, Whitey. That's your last name now. Now 49, Akira. Some cultures don't have last names, by the way. So I'm not making fun of that, but it's just a fact. Unfortunately, a lot of people care about last names, but a lot of people don't care to even have any. It's like, my name's Tom, and that's all you need to know, okay? But that's kind of what last names are. They say what family you're from, you know, where you might be from yourself. You know, oh yeah, all the Stuarts live over there. I know where you're from now. During visits to the cave as a child with his father and uncles, Akiri was told the myth of the Kamukawaka, the first Waja chief, now 49. It was there, tracing the engravings representing female fertility as well as fish, dragonflies, and other forest creatures, that he learned about the people's history and their skills and knowledge and record of the cacique and traditional singing. The destruction of the petroglyphs felt like losing our family, says Akari, whose leopard claw necklace and macaw feather earrings refer to the story of the Kamukuwaka. Without these markings, how would we know of our story? Who will teach us? We will lose our culture. One of the 16th ethnic groups that live in the Xingu indigenous territory, which covers an area nearly the size of Belgium, the Waja people are accustomed to fighting to defend their way of life. Man, can't you just leave these guys alone? Makes me so sad. They're just like minding their business and people are like, yeah, but you live on top of a platinum mine. It's like, okay, well, let them mine it.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, let them mine the platinum and they'll sell it to you. Oh no, that would be terrible because then you can't just steal from people. I know, sorry. Since the land was designated as protected territory in 1961, thank God for that, intensive agriculture has closed in on the forest. Dams have dried out the headwaters of the Xingu River's main tributaries, and threats from illegal logging, land grabs, and predatory fishing have grown. The Waja people's tireless campaigning for their rights brought the expansion of the protected area in the late 1990s to include the Batovi territory, where Ulapwene is located. However, the cave and the surrounding sacred site, where the Waja people are custodians, remain outside of their limits, making access difficult and dangerous. Although the Kamukawaka cave has never been dated, it was listed by the government as a National Heritage Site in 2016. Too bad they defamed it in 2018. That was little due for its preservation. Even before the petroglyphs were vandalized, it was put at risk by a silting up of the nearby river, the cave on the riverbank, and plans for a highway expansion nearby, and disrespectful use by non-indigenous fishermen who would drink and leave their rubbish in the cave. God, why? Come on, guys. Pick up your trash. It's a living book that is being destroyed, says Ewash Wawalipiti, Wadra, director of the Xingu Indigenous Land Association, or ATIX, which represents local communities. A modern solution was found to help preserve the Waja ancestral culture, constructing a resin-coated polyestrine and polyurethane facsimile designed using cutting-edge 3D imaging technology. Thanks, technology. The project was set in motion after the damage to the cave was discovered in 2018. After consulting with archaeologists, anthropologists, and the Waja people, a near-perfect copy of the vandalized part of the cave was built in Spain by Factum Foundation, a non-profit organization specializing in cultural heritage preservation. Thanks, Spain! Especially after all that bullshit you did during the colonial era, it's the least you could do by helping this cave be preserved. I didn't believe they would manage to make the replica, says Akari, who was the first Waja to see the finished project in Spain in 2019. Wow, I liked it. I told my community about it, and we all decided to bring it back to the Xingu. It looks so good. It's very well done. Like, just imagine a rock. A very detailed rock. I know that's not giving you the best impression, but you could not tell this is made out of plastic until you see the top of it, which is obviously plastic. But like, if you were looking, like, took a screenshot right there of like the places where the engravings are, that's rock. Of course, if you touch it, you can tell it's not rock. The 8x4 meter replica weighing 1 ton arrived in Ulapuene this month after a 5,000 mile or 8,000 kilometer journey over sea and land. It was transported in 6 pieces, which the local community helped put together. It is now housed in a special constructed adobe brick building called the Cultural and Monitoring Center. The whole endeavor results from a partnership between Factum Foundation and People's Palace Projects, a London-based arts and research center which collaborated with the indigenous community who were involved at every stage. Engravings are there, and everyone is able to appreciate them now. Whole piece of things are no less real than the original, says Chris Ball, an anthropologist of Notre Dame and University in the U.S. state Indiana, who worked with the Waja people for 2 decades. To make a replica is to honor the original, empower the original, and bring the original in the present here and now. It really differs from the modern capitalized idea of mechanical reproduction as somehow lessening. As they approach the new cultural center on the inauguration day, the Waja people continue to perform their ritual dance. The ceremony determines which boys will become leaders. It was traditionally held at the original cave, but now it can occur there, because it hasn't occurred in decades since they haven't had access to the cave. Hopefully, it can now happen next year, says Tukupe, as Waja people crowd around him to see the newly unveiled replica. I believe we are in the presence of our ancestors, Kamukuwaka, who fought throughout his life. We are here giving continuity to that fight. I'm sure he would never have imagined recreating the cave out of plastic. So that's very cool. Technology is great, and culture continues to live on. Even if all the people were to be gone, that polyethylene will be there forever. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's at least good for the people who are living today. That's my culture segment here on Brazil. On to this day in history.
Oh yes, as it's true, the Spanish really destroyed a lot of culture. Really even thinking about it, didn't they? I mean, we thought we were bad. As far as
Spain really, really has a head start on being terrible to indigenous populations.
Yeah, they basically just routed them, slaughtered them, and enslaved them. Put them in the mines.
I'm starting to talk about the plastic farms, or the rubber farms, sorry. The rubber farms in Brazil. Terrible.
Oh, in South America. I just sent you a clip having to do with this day in history, so you might want to check out your video clip I sent. And we'll get on to this day in history. In 1797, on this day, André Jacques Garnier, an inspector in the French army who encouraged the use of balloons for military purposes, made a balloon sent in order to give his first exhibition of parachuting when he jumped from a height of about 3 feet. feet. I hope he survived. Well, it looks like he did. Otherwise, he would have said, hey, he went splat. In 1836, on this day, after helping defeat Mexico in the Texas Revolution, Sam Houston was inaugurated as the first president of the Republic of Texas. He was actually anti-slavery and resigned when Texas joined the Confederacy as their governor. In 1906, French artiste Paul Cézanne, considered one of the greatest of post-impressionists, died at the age of 67. In 1910, one of the most notorious criminal cases of the 20th century, American physician Hawley Harvey Crippen, widely known as Dr. Crippen, was found guilty of murdering his wife. He was sentenced in a British prison the following month. Doesn't say what he was sentenced to, but there you go. I didn't leave out details. 1934, infamous criminal Charles Pretty Boy Floyd was fatally shot in a field in Liverpool, Ohio, by FBI agents. 1943, French actress Catherine Deneuve was born. So happy birthday to Catherine Deneuve. She was noted for her archetypal Gallic beauty, Gaelic, as well as her roles in films by some of the world's greatest directors. Okay. I don't know what Gallic beauty means. Gallic, and it's capitalized. It's not Gaelic, so I have no idea what Gallic means. Thanks, Britannica, for introducing me a new word I have to look up. 1964, French philosopher and writer Jean-Paul Sartre was announced the winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature, and the first person to decline the award. Okay, he was a philosopher, so I'm sure he had some rationalization for that. Hey, I don't even want the money. I could give it to charity or something. Nah, screw you. Keep your money. Well, not a very smart decision if you ask me. If you don't want the money, dude, give it to charity. Anyway. Screw Jean-Paul Sartre. Screw him for being... I'm sorry. Why would you decline the money? This makes no sense. On what principle? 2008, Chandrayaan-1, India's first lunar space probe, was launched. It later found water in the moon's atmosphere. 2010, WikiLeaks, a website founded by Julian Assange that functioned as a clearinghouse for classified, otherwise privileged information, released thousands of U.S. documents related to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'm sure he wanted to expose some politician he didn't like or whatever. But what he ended up doing was killing innocent people. So way to go, Julian Assange, for putting people's lives in danger for selfish needs. So some people think he's a hero. I think he's a complete... doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So he's just, let me release all this information, harms people. Who cares? Oh, look, there's source information. There's they're published, and now they're going to get killed by people that they work with. So whatever. I'm Julian Assange. I'm perfect. Anyway. Cuban Missile Crisis on this day. On this day, 1962, our featured event, President John F. Kennedy alerted Americans of the Cuban Missile Crisis, declaring the naval blockade to prevent further missile shipments to the island country 90 miles off the coast of the U.S. That's our featured event for today. Happened about a month and a half before I was born. Feature biography, Frank Liszt, Hungarian composer, born October 22nd, 1811 in Rading, Austria, died July 30th, 1886 in Bayreuth, Germany. Other birthdays today, Joan Fontaine, American actress, born in 1917. Timothy Leary, American psychologist, born in 1920. Timothy Leary, LSD guru. Timothy Leary, I should say. The guy who said, what does it say? Tune out? I forget. He told you to drop out and take acid, basically. 1938, Derek Jacobi, British actor, was born. And we covered Catherine Deneuve, who I could not tell you anything she was in. But she's in her twice. Spike Jonze, not the satirical comedy songwriter, but Spike Jonze, the American director and producer, was born this day in 1969. And National Day Calendar, it's National Color Day. So, ooh, look at all the colors. Ooh, might be a good day to drop acid, right? It's National Color Day. Ooh, the colors. It's National Nut Day, so if you're nuts, it's your day. National Tavern Style Pizza Day. Tavern Style pizza, not the kind that you make at home, the kind that you get out of a frozen food section. That's what Tavern Style pizza is to me. It probably is something else somewhere else, but to me it's like frozen pizza. National Make a Dog's Day. Make a Dog's Day. Every dog has this day, and today is every dog gets their day. Make a Dog's Day. Does dogs even know their day is being made? I have no idea. But be nice to your dog either way. And those are your days for today, October 22nd, 2024, on Before Tavern Style Pizza. Yo.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, well, that's great.
Right,
Let's. I don't know what. Did we actually find out what tavern style pizza is? Is it just like you cook it in soup?
Well, let me ask. Let me see what their little clickbait says.
I don't know what that is.
Today we celebrate the taste of Chicago. So it's about the deep dish pizza.
Yeah, okay, so it is like making a soup, basically.
It's like lasagna.
Yeah.
It's like lasagna. It's like pizza cake is what it's like.
Pizza cake. All right. Well, let's
National Tavern Style Pizza Day is going to increase your need to enjoy this cheesy life. People across the globe love pizza, and tavern style pizza is a favorite among pizza lovers. In fact, tavern style pizza lovers will tell you this unique pizza originates in Chicago, the most popular type of pizza order in Chicago. Yes, true. Chicagoans eat thin crust, not deep dish. Oh, they're saying this is the thin crust type pizza, not the deep dish. So it's the opposite. In Chicago, they just call regular pizza tavern style because Chicago pizza, like I said, is 5 inches thick.
Okay.
And back to you.
Well, it's been Allison here from the Netherlands. I'll probably not be able to find a Chicago style pizza anywhere. That sounds cursed.
Just regular pizza.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying.
Stack 5 pizzas together.
Yeah, I understand. And we will see you tomorrow for Wacky and Weird Wednesday, where we'll talk about stacking 5 pizzas on top of each other and other weird things and wacky things that's been going on in the news. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and of course, turn that notification bell on so you know when we go live. Like this video if you enjoyed learning about all the great things that happened today, all the positive things at least that we found in the news cycle. And let's watch our mic drop moment.
What's the red thread?
The red thread.
Good evening, my fellow citizens.
This is 62 years ago today.
Has maintained the closest surveillance of the
it's something you learn about in the history books, the Cuban Missile Crisis in U.S. history.
Within the past week,
we almost started a war because we got scared.
Has established the fact
that
a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island. The purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere. Only last Thursday, as evidence of this rapid
offensive buildup, of course, we did pull some of our missiles out of Europe at the time, but we never said that we did. There was a compromise.
Once again,
I'm just like, what would have happened if this was real? If they actually did shoot a missile?
Oh, it was real. They did actually have missiles.
No, I just mean if they actually shot a missile, like the actual.
And I quote him: "Training by Soviet specialists
would have been wild.
They would have started a nuclear war.
In handling defensive armaments, war is by no means offensive, and that if it were otherwise, Mr. Gromyko went on, the Soviet government would never become involved in rendering such assistance."
Of course, back then people were just like
that statement also was false.
Digging bomb shelters.
Acting therefore in the defense of our own
companies
security
to dig on bomb shelters
and of the
next to
entire
your
Western
house.
Hemisphere,
Yeah, there's a whole entire video
And under
game
the
based on that
authority
idea.
entrusted to me by the Constitution,
Every school
And endorsed
cafeteria in
by
the
the
country
resolution
had
of
a
the
bomb
Congress.
shelter sign on
I
it.
have directed that the following
Yeah.
initial
Nuclear
steps be taken
nuclear
immediately.
bomb shelter, like I
To
said.
halt this offensive
Even as a
buildup,
kid, I'm like, what
a
is that
strict
protecting us
quarantine
from?
on all offensive military
Is
equipment
that actually going to work?
under
Probably
shipment to
not.
Cuba is being initiated.
We never
All
left the
ships of any
nuclear
kind
age,
bound for
and it's
Cuba,
caused us all kinds of
From whatever
problems.
nation or port, where they're found to contain cargoes of offensive weapons, be turned back.
How human of us
Shall be the
to
policy of this
make a
nation
weapon first
to regard any
instead of
nuclear
making
missile
anything else,
launched
right?
from Cuba against any nation
The first
in
thing we
Western
did when we
Hemisphere
discovered
as an
nuclear
attack
explosions
by the
is, hey, we
Soviet
should
Union on the United
throw that
States,
at somebody
requiring
and see
a
what
full
happens.
retaliatory response upon the
Well,
Soviet
the very next thing that
I call
happened
upon
was
Chairman Khrushchev
scientists decided
to
that
halt
one
and
country,
eliminate
a few
this
scientists,
clandestine,
decided that
reckless, and
one
provocative
country
threat
shouldn't
to
have
world
nuclear
peace
weapons.
and to
There
Yeah.
should be
relations
something
between our
called
two nations.
mutually,
I call upon him further to abandon
Exclusive
the threat of
destruction.
world domination and to join
mutual
in an
destruction
historic
pact,
effort
like it's murder
to end the
suicide.
perilous arms race.
If one country just
and to
has it,
transform the history
then
of man.
they just dominate
Our
and
goal is
threaten,
not the
the
victory of might,
fascists.
but the vindication
Yep.
of right.
And that's been proven
Not
over
peace
time.
at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom.
What do
I
you
mean, that's what
mean?
Russia did when
We're
they
the good
invaded Ukraine.
guys.
They
We
threatened to
hope
throw
around
their
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.